Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody. Sorry I haven't been around for a little while. It's been a rough couple of weeks. As you know, I had to move, packing, all that stuff. I'm finally settled into the new place, which is good. I got a place to record now, so also really good. But the last couple episodes I tried to upload here, YouTube just wasn't having it, so I finally had to cut it down and cut out so much stuff that is not even close to the original content that I wanted to put out. So we're just going to do clips from the cutting room floor today. And some of the clips I wanted to show were okay, but a lot of what I did want to show, YouTube wasn't having it, so it is what it is. Let's just roll with what we got, and, you know, we'll go from there. Anyways, let's see what we got. We are live.
What if the physical reality that we all live in is actually just a projection of our mind? This sounds like the script from the movie Matrix, but I'm going to explain how science looks at it. In the analytic idealism theory, former CERN scientist Bernardo Kastrup says that all matter is what the mind looks like from the outside. That matter does not create consciousness, it's consciousness that creates matter. He says that our physical reality is the outward appearance of our thoughts and our emotions. Just as a smile doesn't cause happiness, the brain doesn't cause consciousness. It's just a symptom of it. And Kastrup proposes that there's only one universal consciousness called the mind at large. Just like how the ocean creates infinite waves, each individual wave is our human experience. When the wave is above the water, it is temporarily disconnected from the body of ocean, creating our unique individual perspective on life. And this is where it gets interesting. He says that death is an illusion. When the physical body dies, your consciousness becomes reintegrated back to that one universal consciousness. Just like how a wave, when it crashes back into the ocean, becomes the ocean again. So in a world where conventional science says that we're just these biological machines that happen to have consciousness, Kastrup says that you are actually part of the Creator and you are the universe waking up to itself.
Now that's a very interesting concept, and it kind of summarizes manifestation in a way. The intricacy of this is astonishing. You know, in the last 80 years, anything that we've built hasn't even come close to this. In terms of how impressive it is, how intricate it is, and just, we lack masterpieces in the modern age. There is nothing as a modern masterpiece, in my opinion. This is breathtaking. And I refuse to believe that if we could replicate things like this or still had the know-how to build things like this, why would we stop? It doesn't make sense that we would stop building this way. Unless you were deliberately trying to make things ugly. That's just how I see it. I don't believe that those were built by people riding donkeys and wagons.
Did you know the judge that released this guy didn't even go to law school? Yeah, not even a lawyer. These magistrate judges that are making a decision to release these people without bail, yeah, they're not even lawyers. They didn't go to law school. They didn't pass the bar. They just got appointed to be judges. No training required. Oh yeah, and that's the case in states like North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Texas, Arizona. They don't even have to be lawyers, but they can be judges. They don't have to go to law school. They don't have to pass the bar. However, they sit in judgment over people who did. How the fuck is this a thing? How the fuck do we have judges who didn't even study the law? How did this ever become a thing? That's one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Like, to be somebody's lawyer, you have to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. Like, just to represent a client, you have to do that. To be able to prosecute that person, you got to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. But to be the judge, to be the person overseeing these lawyers to be the ultimate arbiter of the law. You don't have to go to law school. You don't have to pass the bar. How is this a fucking thing?
That makes absolutely no sense to me, but it just seems like we are slowly going to hell in a handbasket.
No, we've been saying it for years. It's not chaos, it's planned. Deport migrants, destroy culture, jail citizens for criticism, turn the police against the citizens, invoke digital IDs or surveillance, bankrupt nations to eliminate governments, eliminate private property, that will no longer exist. And the final step will be to transfer citizens to a global government. And this is also the reason for the cost of living crisis, to keep you busy surviving so you never start fighting back or living. And if you ask me, you absolutely cannot screw up a country this bad, this fast, unless it were on purpose. Now please change my mind.
She's not wrong. And it's the same thing in Canada. You can't tell me they are not trying to destroy this economy to bring in some sort of Green New Deal.
They love when people get angry and push back, because then they can say we need tougher laws. And you know, the mass migration crisis, this is comical, Paul. This one is so obvious to me or you. The mass migration is being driven with zero question by the globalists. From 100 years ago in the Kalergi plan, it's always been a desire to undermine all the nations, turn everything into a blob and rule it. That is without question. But the mass migration now, Starmer and others, there's big pushes now to bring in a digital identity card in the UK. Guess what for? Oh, to help with this mass migration problem, all of you filthy peasants are angry about. We'll give you a solution. A universal digital ID. You couldn't make it up.
Alberta too. It's the same thing. Daniel Smith in Alberta just announced the same thing going on our driver's license. It's all by design.
There are literally 5 billionaires that have as much wealth as half of humanity. And it's growing so fast, the wealth. And if you look at where's their wealth coming from, do they work? No, they don't. They just collect rents. They collect rents from money, our money. They collect rents from our minds. What does Facebook do? You exchange messages. They extract, they mine data from your Facebook messages. That extracted data is then sold on either to corporations to sell you things or through Cambridge Analytica to political parties. So you get an artificial intelligence president. I've quoted the Monsanto person saying, we need farming without farmers, because by getting rid of farmers, we have new markets for surveillance, robotic, and artificial intelligence. 2 big assaults that are coming are fake food and fake economics, and fake knowledge, I would add. So the fake knowledge is replacing real intelligence, ecological intelligence, emotional intelligence, cooperative intelligence of communities at work, including the intelligence in the plants, the intelligence in the microbes, the intelligence of the bacteria in our gut. We are super intelligent. Life is intelligence. And they want to say artificial intelligence with some of our narrow programs that are very mechanical, downloaded into a machine, and machine learning is artificial intelligence that'll get rid of the farmer on the farm. I mentioned the fake economics of zero budgeting. Look out for it. When you see the term zero budget, be suspicious. It's about externalizing costs. Our studies have shown that farmers in the industrial system, where it's industrialization of production and industrialization of distribution through the Walmarts and the Amazons and the big supermarket chains, the farmers do not receive more than 1 to 4% of the value. And that's the case for coffee too. It's only when they do direct distribution that you can have a chance of a fair price. Fake food is the next big, desperate attempt to try and extinguish our movement. That the biggest solution to climate change is not to say, eat bad food and fake food and kill yourself through that, but become part of the healing of the earth by returning organic matter to the soil. We should stop calling ourselves producers of food, because that's a byproduct of something much bigger that we do. We care for the earth. We generate a health. We regenerate the health, social health of our communities through social justice, and the ecological health of each of our children through making their fundamental right to life real, through the right to good food and real food, which can only come from real farms and real intelligence and real love and real giving. Thank you.
She's not wrong. There's a reason Bill Gates is buying up all that farmland. It's not for farmers to farm.
Imagine living in a world where you're wide awake, okay? You've had the awakening, you see exactly what's going on in the world, you realize that we're living in a simulation, the Matrix, everything's an illusion, but you're living amongst people that are completely clueless, and they think you're crazy. That's the world I live in. It's a very, my circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, because once your eyes open and you see the world for what it is, you can't go back. And so many people either choose to live in the illusion, or they're just blind to it because they've been conditioned that way not to see it. It's a nightmare, really, because they think you're crazy. You tell them stuff and they're like, they're so far behind, I don't have the time to get them up to speed, okay? When you truly have the awakening and you wake up, you know, your eyes open up and everything looks different. And I cannot get somebody there, so I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just saying, hey, you might want to take a look at this, right?
Yeah.
The fact is, most people will never get there. They're going to live blind and live in the system and never see things for what they really are. I'd love to know in the comments below, who are you out there that have truly awakened and you see the truth? You realize that we have been lied to by just about everything, okay? And I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, there's so much subtext. Trying to red pill somebody in 5 minutes, it's not happening, man.
The more you trust the science, the more likely you are to die. In the next 90 seconds, I can show you how science became the deadliest religion in America. In 1910, Rockefeller funded the Flexner Report. Overnight, natural medicine becomes quackery and pharmaceutical medicine becomes science. The same guy who made billions selling oil is now in charge of what doctors learn. What could go wrong? 1948, the American Heart Association takes $1.7 million from Procter & Gamble, makers of Crisco. Suddenly, saturated fat is evil and seed oils are heart healthy. Today, heart disease is the #1 killer. The science they sold you is responsible for countless deaths. 1985, Philip Morris, a cigarette company, buys General Foods and Kraft. They hire the same scientists who made cigarettes addictive to engineer your food. Now, over 70% of Americans are overweight. Same level of harm, just rebranded as food. Today, there's a fake science institute that infiltrates health organizations worldwide. It's called International Life Sciences Institute. Sounds wholesome, right? Well, it's owned by Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Red Bull, and other food companies. They've influenced obesity policy in China, nutrition guidelines at the World Health Organization, and the experts your doctor trusts. Your evidence-based doctors, your credentialed nutritionists, they're not experts. They're victims. Victims of a system so perfectly corrupted, they can't even imagine they've been duped by it. Medical error is the 3rd leading cause of death in America. We spend more on healthcare than any other nation, and we're the sickest. That's not incompetence. That's the plan working perfectly. Share this before it gets reported or taken down or whatever the hell these gatekeepers do.
See, and that's what she meant by the fake food crisis. This is exactly what she meant by that.
Well, the whole point is to humiliate and degrade the indigenous population of the British Isles, the white population. I mean, that's the whole point. And are they really going to do something about it? What would that be exactly? You'd really have to force a lot of people to go back to their countries of origin, millions of people, and you need to do it really soon. And are they actually willing to do that? I don't know, but these are existential questions that we have been browbeat into ignoring for decades. But the question is, like, is Ireland Ireland? If it's majority non-Irish? Oh, shut up, they're Irish. No, they're actually not Irish. Same with the UK, same with England, Scotland, Wales. Like, it's all changing so fast. Nothing like this has ever happened in all of history, except when, say, the Mongols swept across the steppe and raped everybody. Like, that was true demographic change on this scale. But even that wasn't as profound as what we're seeing in every white country around the world. I would say the West, but Australia and New Zealand also. So, like, what is 100%. That? Now, my brain is not big enough to understand what that is. I have a lot of theories about it, but I don't know if they're true. All I know is what the numbers are. And that's real. And no one feels that he can say it. Everyone's like, oh, well, if that were happening in China or India or Malaysia or Senegal, it doesn't matter. You'd be like, what the hell is that? Like, the population's totally different. Look at graduation. Pick, King's College Law School. And look at the graduation picture for the last 30 years. Who's in it? Just like let your eyes tell you the truth for once. Like, this is a total change in population. Is it better? Is it worse? Can't have that conversation. Who's pushing this? Does the population want it? Population clearly doesn't want it.
Nope.
There's no polling that's meaningful on the subject. I mean, there's no referendum on it. You don't get to decide. You've got no voice in it, other than you get to go to jail if you complain loudly enough about it. What is this? I think it's the biggest and darkest thing that has happened in the last 1,000 years, for sure. And I think it's leading somewhere really, really bad. It's not happening by accident, that's obvious, because it's only happening in white countries.
I mean, I think that...
Oh, shut up, white supremacist. Well, in fact, I'm not a white supremacist. I'm just noticing what the hell's going on.
I think...
And that's just it. Canada, 4 million immigrants in the last 3 years.
They call themselves Netanyahu, but it's just a stolen name, a Hebrew mask plastered over a European exile's face. His real name was Milikowski, born of Ashkenazi lineage from Poland. Benjamin Netanyahu has neither the blood, nor the land, nor the language of those he claims to represent. His Judaism is not that of the shepherds of Hebron, nor the poets of Jaffa. It is the Judaism of a colonizer from elsewhere who put on the prophet's robe to hide the scent of ashes. Because what he represents today is not a people, it is a machine. A political, military, ideological machine, a machine of steel and contempt. Netanyahu didn't grow up on the banks of the Jordan. He grew up in the salons of New York's conservative elite and the ultra-nationalist sermons of his father, Ben Zion, the hardline Zionist historian. He never spoke Arabic. He never shared bread with a Palestinian. He never had to bury a child beneath the rubble of an Israeli airstrike. He is not from this land. He took it. And yet he decides. He demolishes. He signs the orders.
I'm sure there's nothing true about any of that. That's all lies.
I lost my last account for saying this, but I'm going to double down. The only Donald Trump rally CNN ever aired or covered was Butler, Pennsylvania. Not one before, not one after. The only Turning Point USA event that CNN ever covered was in Utah the other day. Don't piss on my fucking face and tell me it's raining.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
This is you. This is your sister, your wife, your daughter. But this right here is you. This is your sister, your wife, your daughter. This is you. This is your sister, your wife, your daughter. But this is you. And this is their reaction when you are killed. This is the joy they feel when your sister is raped, when your children are castrated, brainwashed to hate you. This is their ecstasy when the floor of the subway car is awash in your blood. This is you. Make no mistake, that is a symbol, that is you. But this won't last long. They can't help themselves because they're so ugly and so low that the only joy they can experience, the only good that they can envision is to take something beautiful or innocent down to their level.
Yep.
And when they can't do it, the next best thing is blood. This is Charlie's family. And these are his children who will never be able to hug their dad and grow up with a murdered father. And these are the people who smugly revel in this, and they won't stop with just Charlie. The boats are burned. There's nobody coming to help. The barbarians are at the gate. This is the fall of ancient Rome that we are living through currently. And what happens in the next 2 weeks is going to determine the future of mankind. That's not hyperbole. That's just how it is.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong.
If you want to see the light at the end of this very dark tunnel, listen closely. Like you, my heart is filled with sadness and rage. The reactive part of me wants to unleash hell on every radicalized activist out there. But the wiser part of me, the side that understands the vast difference between reacting and responding, reminds me to take a deep breath and to remember. Reacting is exactly what they want us to do.
Yep.
They need us so emotional, so enraged, that we look away from the evidence now emerging. Evidence that exposes their crimes against humanity. Whether it's newly leaked emails proving that Dr. Fauci lied under oath, the bombshell study comparing the unvaccinated to the vaccinated, the long-awaited disclosures from the files, or the countless other exposés now being dragged into the light, they want us distracted. They want us to dominate the news cycle with hateful rhetoric and physical acts of revenge. Do not take the bait. They are masters of manipulation, practitioners of dark magic, and like any illusionist, they rely on sleight of hand. While one hand dazzles your attention, the other sets the trick. Let's put an end to the illusion by thinking and behaving wisely and strategically, by being one step ahead of those trying hard to lead us into hell, by grounding our minds and our hearts in the unshakable knowing that in the end, the light always defeats the dark. We are entering the Great Purge, when that which is poisonous to the human organism is puked into the sewage where it belongs. In the same way, your body rejects consuming toxins, we are collectively ridding our bodies of the poisonous programming we've been ingesting for decades. This is not the time to break down. This is a moment for us to rise up, consciously, strategically, and wisely. We are on the precipice of historic change.
I think so
Hold
too.
strong. Remain vigilant. Your most effective weapon is your voice. Use it, and use it with care and precision. United, we stand.
Yeah, that is just it. So obviously by now, we're all aware of what happened to Charlie Kirk. We're all aware of what happened to that young Ukrainian woman on the bus. And a plethora of other things, as that guy said, we're beaten over the head with. It's just, something is in the air, something is coming. There's a big change about to take place. Because here's the thing. When George Floyd died, what did the left do? They burnt down cities, they rioted, they looted, they acted the fool, they basically destroyed the country through a big fucking tantrum, right? What did we do when Charlie Kirk was assassinated? We held vigils, we held prayers, we spoke to one another, we helped one another, we listened to one another, okay? And what was the response to that? We had people disrupt the vigils by coming in and kicking over candles and wreaths, acting the fool. That is the reaction, celebrating his death, going on Twitter, other social media sites and celebrating, cheering, egging it on, wanting more of it. That is beyond despicable. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that something like this happened, because now the left has really shown who they are. It just really, really sucks that it had to be at the cost of someone like Charlie Kirk's life for us to actually start holding up a mirror to society. Charlie Kirk was a good man. You might not have agreed with everything that he had to say. I certainly didn't. But he was a good man. He was a loving father. He was a devoted husband. He had good morals. He had decency. And all he wanted to do was talk to people and debate. Let's debate our ideas. Let's try to find some common ground. And for that, they killed him. Because they don't know how to debate. because they don't come from a place of truth, okay? It was one thing to pull the trigger and take Charlie from us. It's another thing to sit there and laugh and celebrate about it. We are in a really fucked up place, guys. Like, I never thought I'd see the day, you know, when even here in Canada, our own CBC is sitting there spreading lies about who he was and trying to justify the killing. And you're seeing this a lot from left-wing media. They're trying to justify what happened because they're on the left. They can't, even though some of them don't agree with what happened. Some of them are like the Grinch. They have that little tiny bit of heart that's down there. They do have a little bit of it. And those are the ones that are realizing they can't align themselves with the left anymore because they are so far gone. Because, you know, these reporters and these news pundits, these talking heads, a lot of them are very uncomfortable with what has happened, okay? And they're starting to realize that they're not on the right side, okay? They're sitting there thinking to themselves, am I the bad guy? Yeah, you are the bad guy. How can you stand amongst these people? And just because you don't ever want to be known as right-wing or a right-wing sympathizer. That's pretty disgusting, if you ask me. The rhetoric that they have been spinning for the last decade about conservatives, about people on the right, about people who just aren't on the left, is become so dangerous that we now have to wonder if we are even safe around these people. When you look at how many people actually got fired for celebrating the death of Charlie, a lot of them were professors, teachers. Let that sink in, okay? These are the people that are shaping the minds of our children, okay? And that was their reaction. So is it any surprise that our kids are chopping off their wieners and chopping off their tits and trying to act like the man and trying to act like a woman when you were born the opposite sex? It's a mass psychosis, okay? It's a derangement to celebrate the death of somebody simply because you don't agree with them. They are too far gone. It's like J.D. Vance said. There can be no unity with these people. We can't coexist together. We're just too different. And I've been saying this for a long time. Anyone who's been following me knows for a long time this is what I've been saying. I don't see how it's possible, you know? But now you're seeing pundits on the left. The reason that they're trying to justify this is because they've already drawn their line in the sand. They're on the left side. They're not on our side. And they're going to try to justify that just to make themselves look good. And, you know, and it's not just the teachers, you know. Think about this. Let's just say that one of the people that were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk was a fireman or a nurse or someone who is in a position when they're supposed to save lives. Let's say a fireman comes to my door to save me and realizes I have crosses and scripture in my home. Is he gonna save me still? Well, let's say I go to the hospital because I have something wrong with me and I'm wearing a cross around my neck. Am I going to be let to die simply because they don't agree with what I agree with? Is this the world that we live in now? Because it's becoming very, very apparent that we can no longer trust these people at all. Now we have to worry about even being around them. Like, are you going to kill us just because you don't like the stuff that we say? And because we want to live a decent life? We believe in a nuclear family? That's our crime? We are supposed to be murdered because of this? Guys, something has to give, okay? And something's gonna give. Because this is one of those moments in history that it's going to have a lot of implications. You know, some people have compared this to the killing of MLK. And you know what? Maybe it's going to have the same sort of cultural impact. It's, you know, certainly seems like it's not going away, that's for sure. You know? But what's sad is even just the average person who was fired from their job for celebrating the death of somebody. Their testimonial after the fact, when they go to apologize, they're not sorry that they acted the way that they acted. They're sorry that they lost their job. You know, I heard one woman say, I never would have said anything if I would have known I'd have gotten fired. You're not sorry that you ran through someone's vigil and disrupted the whole thing and acted like a fucking idiot because you are an unhinged lunatic. That's not what you're sorry about. You're sorry that you got caught. Guys, that's where we're at. How do you coexist with somebody like this? And here's the really scary thing. There is a lot of them. In Canada, in the US, Australia, worldwide. Guys, there's just too much, okay? There's way too much being thrown at us, okay? We got mass immigration. We've got inflation like you've never seen before. We've got leftists losing their minds, celebrating the death of our soldiers. This is insane, okay? We are on the precipice, okay? But the point I'm making is when Charlie died, we didn't go and burn down cities, okay? We didn't go and riot. We didn't go and loot, okay? We all came together. Here, here in Alberta, Calgary actually had a really big coming together where they sang the US national anthem, An Amazing Grace, in memoriam for Charlie Kirk. And of course, there were some people that tried to disrupt that as well. But that's where we are on the right, okay? We don't act this way. We don't act like inhuman retards, okay? Because that's what this is. This is retarded. And when you factor in everything else that they are throwing at us and everything else that they are trying to keep us down and keep us pissed off, they really want us to lose our shit, okay? And it's really hard for people like me, especially, to not lose our shit, okay? Because we are being pushed really far to the edge, I've tried to put this video out twice now, and YouTube has said no, they don't like what I'm putting in there. I'm getting to a point where I don't know what to do anymore, okay? Like, I can't even talk about things. None of us can talk about things because you're gonna get canceled. We're gonna get canceled. Or you're gonna get even worse. Where do we go from here, guys? Because something has got to give. This doesn't work anymore, okay? But like I've said before, the moment that Charlie Kirk was taken from us, a million other Charlie Kirks were born. Okay, this is going to push the best of us closer to our families, closer to our friends, closer to our faith. It's going to have the exact opposite effect of what they were hoping it would have. And that is really going to piss them off. So, I don't know what's coming down the pipe, but hug your kids extra tightly, and your spouse, and your family. Because if this has taught us anything, it's that tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. So, that's what I got today, guys. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you again in the next one. Till then, Eddie Canadian. Signing off.